Hi, my name is Ethan Trewartha, and I'm the great-grandson of James W. Kittoe. My great-grandfather was born on April 5, 1921, in Hazel Green, Wisconsin. Although I never got to meet my great-grandfather and learn about his experience firsthand, through my dad's stories, Essie's history lessons, and my own personal research, I feel connection with him and appreciation of the loss of the USS Indianapolis. Growing up, it was a well-known fact that talking to Grandpa about the USS Indianapolis was forbidden. It was difficult for him to reminisce about the many friends whose lives were taken. My dad, however, was 10 years younger than his oldest brother and wasn't aware of this rule. While visiting his grandpa, my dad asked the question, "Grandpa, I have a report due for school. Can you tell me about the USS Indianapolis?" Before his mom can interrupt him, Grandpa said he would share some details, but it would be the last time. My dad didn't realize the magnitude of his question that day, as his mom's only recollection of the struggles he went through from overhearing her dad discussing with other Navy retirees as they shared kindred spirits. The night of July 29, 1945, my great-grandfather was scheduled to be in his bunk on break from his shift. Instead, he was asked to relieve another shipmate who had fallen ill. The deadly torpedo struck right where my grandpa would have been sleeping that night. He survived the initial attacks and found himself clinging to a floater net covered with oil, not sure what he was in for next. As hot blistering days and freezing nights went by, my great-grandfather became increasingly weak and discouraged from being rescued. On that final day, he felt he had given all he could. He was starving, severely dehydrated, had a swollen tongue, cracked lips, and was prepared to die. After nearly 5 days witnessing relentless shark attacks, help was on its way. My dad remembers saying if he spent another 3 to 4 hours in the water, he wouldn't have survived, as he was one of the last ones to be rescued. The physical recovery would come over time, but the emotional struggle would be the biggest battle of it all. The memories of the men who perished, constant risk of shark attacks, and ultimately coming to grips with death haunted my great-grandfather throughout his life. So much so that he couldn't talk to anyone about it. Grandma Jane recalls nights of being awakened by frightful screams from her dad. After a long day of work, he'd come home and fall asleep on the couch. On occasion, when the moon was full, the shine would reflect off the glass coffee table. He would wake up suddenly to the horror of being at sea again. Indeed, James W. Kittoe was a brave and courageous man, one who survived the worst sea disaster in U.S. naval history. I am proud to not only call him my great-grandfather, but to call him my hero.